So we just took a look at how the event object can be used inside an event handler. And now we're going to take a look at how you would incorporate it into an event listener that uses an anonymous function or that actually calls an event handler. And you do have to change how you handle that code just a little bit. So this is the example we looked at earlier when we weren't trying to access the event object. And if you remember, we had the event, a comma, and then just change back with no parentheses. Since we are going to be passing the event object, we have to include now function, and in parentheses, the whatever you're going to call the event object. And then you'll notice that we have an opening curly and a closing curly, and in between the name of the function that we're calling, and then in parentheses the event object. So whatever you call the event object here, you're also going to call it here. And then once you get into the handler, it's kind of the same as what we were just looking at before. You have to bring in the object, and then you use the object to access the properties or to call the methods. Okay, so this is the exact same thing we were looking at before. The only difference is we had to make a little adjustment now to our event listener. So what about event listeners that are passing parameters? You know, how do we handle that if we're calling a function and passing a parameter? We actually would do it kind of similar to what we just looked at because we were passing the event object. But if you are going to pass the event object in addition to parameters, okay, then after the event and the comma, you've got function. And then in parentheses, it's whatever you're going to call the event object. And then you've got your curly braces. Inside is the name of the function you are calling. The very first parameter is going to be your event object. So whatever you called it here, you're going to call it here. And then a comma, and then each parameter that you are passing. Okay, so here I'm calling 3 different functions depending on which ID, which element they click on. And I'm passing the event to each one, and then 3 different sets of numbers, basically. And then you can see that in the function themselves, the very first parameter I'm pulling in is the event. And then I've got red, green, and blue for the other parameters. So here I am doing a log on the source element, so you can see that, which is the button that created the event. Okay, so that's a little different property than we looked at before. And then you can see I'm kind of formatting the RGB using the values that were passed instead of doing random numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this. And we'll click on these things. Okay, and then I'm going to open up the developer panel by pressing FN and F12. On my laptop, on my desktop, all I have to do is press F12. And then, let's see, here's my console. So this is what got written to the console. And I was asking it to show me the source element, the actual button that created the event. Okay, so you can see that it's showing me the full HTML there. So for my first one, that was the button. So if I click that again, it's showing me the button again, clicking that, so you can see how that works.